The Atlanta Vigilante Wars. Case 002. Permission to Collect. Script by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. Based on a short story novella by Joseph Cautilli, Marisha Cautilli, and Peter Kim. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shanalee Carton. Scene 1. The concierge android slides the final contract through the small window of the bullet-riddled ballistic glass of the Rancor Suites Budget Micro-Economy Hotel. While not opulent in any sense, the lobby is roughly 70 degrees with a perfect 40% humidity. A signature here shall complete our transaction, Mr. Rainer. A tiny dab of sweat drips from Dax Rainer's forehead as he scans the sheet. He isn't the reading type, and all of the fine print gives him a headache. His fingers tap the electric pen, a glorified version of a stylus in his hand. No, he just wants to get the basic questions answered. His left hand reaches over to his cowboy hat and touches it. Maybe it is to give himself a bit of magical strength. He breathes in the cheap hotel lobby smells to trigger a sense of comfort and relaxation. The hotels often use a scent which combines warm sandalwood, floral jasmine, and frangipani and musky patchouli. Augmented silky white flowers line the area for those with special augmented glasses. What exactly am I granting permission for? To give Rancor Hotel and Suites permission to collect your personal data. It improves our service algorithms for you. For a second, Dax thinks. Personal data? What is that? Dax doesn't know what exactly personal data entails, but there is one thing he didn't like, and that is giving away something for free. He licks his lips. Certainly, he does not want to be a person whose data finds itself for sale on the dark web. A soft hand falls on his shoulder. It is Harley Sinclair. She grips it tightly and runs her index finger on his neck. The touch sends a sensation straight down his body to his groin.
Babe, hurry up. I gotta pee.
Harley Sinclair tugs on Dax's leather motorcycle jacket. It almost makes him drop his cowboy hat. He kisses her, and she takes 4 steps over the checkered black and white marble floor to gaze through the floor-to-ceiling window with a stunning view of the Chow Phraya River. With a huge sigh, Dax's energy shifts. A half smile arches over his face into a grin. He relaxes a bit more. Just moments ago, in the steady downpour, Harley twirled in her leather skirt and jaguar fur coat when she entered the marble lobby of the Ambassador Suites Hotel. 5-star ratings. Only 4 murders in the past month, and the food is less than 10% plastic. Dax doesn't care about all the fancy adornments. Hell, he can smell the grime behind the artificial scents. No, he just seeks a place to get drunk and laid. But at least for now, Harley is his sweetheart, just like the freshly inked tattoo on his shoulder reads. Sure, they'd only met, as planned, 2 hours ago after he hacked an ATM outside a gas station in Shinjuku Station Heights in Japan. But when she jumped the vacuum tube with him to Hong Kong, he realized she had potential. Maybe he was lying to himself. He told so many lies every day. It made him question his own grip on reality. Well, if not Miss Right, She is Miss Right Now. They really connect, and he loves risk takers, especially those who take risks for love. Life moves fast, and he doesn't want to miss out on it, Dax thinks. Hell, she better be. I'm running out of ink on my arm. Now, with a virtual wallet full of altar coins, the only thing stopping Dax from consummating his new love affair is the last of several dumb contracts he has to sign. Every one of those contracts seems standard, but for some reason, the one marked Permission to Collect gives Dax pause. His lips twist as he mumbles to himself, Permission to Collect. The AI plays Maurice Ravel's Miroir 3 on the grand piano behind him, as Dax peels a few bills out of his wallet and gives them to his girlfriend. He nods over to the claw machine at the back of the lobby. Why don't you go and see if you can get a surprise, sweetheart? Their eyes lock as Harley scoops up the money.
Sure thing, lover boy.
Dax draws the .45 Magnum, which he keeps tucked behind his waistband, and sets it on the counter. The heavy clunk on the Imperador's dark white and gold-polished marble counter makes the robot give it a second glance. And what do you need that for? Dax points to the claws. His eyes scan the face of the machine searching for a tell. But the damned androids never have any. As I said, user data is collected to provide better services to the customer. We try to make each user's experience unique. Dax thinks, damn emotional reading programs on these blasted machines. It must have read my feelings as nervous. He inches the gun closer to the machine while doubting it has enough awareness to sense the implied threat. Unique? Yes, the next time you're here, your experience will be much better. I doubt I'll be back. Expensive place. You never know. You might be pleasantly surprised. Something about the way the android smiles at him gives Dax the creeps. And it isn't Dax's normal disdain for androids. He draws back from the counter and sighs.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Dax glances over at Harley, who tries her luck over at the claw machine at the other end of the lobby. And while she is busy ogling at all the prizes, Dax stares at her archingly long legs. Dax, being an aspiring poet himself, tries to think of a line about fishnet stockings and Harley being a catch. It doesn't come to him. He picks a mint off the counter, unwraps it, and stuffs it into his mouth. The claw machine drops into the bin, a glossy box with a question mark logo. It reminds Dax of the old, worthless mystery boxes he wasted his money on as a kid. That was back when his sister still spoke to him. But maybe that's why he likes Harley. She still has a youthful innocence in her ways. Something Dax will never get back. No, the world has crushed that from him. Harley squeals as a prize drops into the catch bin. She reaches down, opens up the box, and holds up her prize. A box full of ice cream-flavored condoms. It was a big box of 50. She bounces up and down.
Look what I won, babe.
Wow.
Thinking of us, baby.
Seeing the bulk order condoms, Dax chomps the mint, pivots back to the counter, and doesn't bother reading the rest of the contract, which is still in the android concierge's hands. Room at the end of the hall, right? Dax needs the end room to set up motion detectors, an extra precaution in a chaotic world where his life is on the line. The robot nods. He signs along the dotted line with an X and rushes over to his new girlfriend to congratulate her. If you tell me the temperature and humidity you want, I can start the room in that direction from here. Placing on his cowboy hat, Dax says nothing and does not even look back. If you have a favorite scent, the elevator doors open and the two disappear into the elevator, giggling the entire time. Scene 2. After placing the motion detector on the wall outside the room, Dax and Harley enter. He hangs the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door handle. The moment Dax steps into the 48 square foot standard single of the micro-budget suites, he is pleasantly surprised. The faint laurel smell delights him. Wanting the occasion to be special, Dax splurged on the room with the view. So he dashes to the window and tears back the curtains, revealing through a heavy downpour of rain a cosmic galaxy of red neon signs below. The rain beats against the glass of the room, but somehow it does not feel its usual depressing, but romantic. He feels warm and alive for possibly the first time in years. Dax hops on the aquamarine sheets of the Sleep Number smart bed and draws a small black box from his pocket.
What's that, baby?
Dax plugs the box into the wire of the hotel phone. Oh, this. Wow, it is a cool device. Really cheap, too. You just plug it into the phone, and it bypasses the hotel reception. If a person calls, it begins to triangulate the location even before you answer. It can get to the location in as few as 4 rings, or immediately on pickup.
You said cheap, but that don't sound right.
Honey, I got this for less than the breakfast at this hotel will cost.
Are we getting room service?
Why don't you get changed first? And I'll let you know later. Hey, watch this. Dax picks up a remote and presses the button. The wall cracks and slides open. From behind it, a bar and stereo system emerges.
Wow, that's cool.
After running a hand over his chest, she scoots off, and he flips on the television. Immediately, he confronts a dozen pop-ups appearing on the digital display. Dax reads out loud, "Do you grant Rancor Hotel and Suites permission to access your photos, videos, messages, phone calls, credit card purchases, tax statements, and social media posts over the last 5 years? What crap! Just to watch the television. Do you grant hotel and suites permission to collect DNA samples and or bodily fluids left on the premises?" Dax gives pause for a moment, but then he hears Harley singing Billie Holiday's "I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm" in the shower. Her voice is beautiful. He feels the pressure to ensure the lady gets the best. And why not? He can afford it now. Agree. In a frenzied blur, he clicks away the rest of those annoying agreements and finally gets access to the television. Lord, you need 5011 agreements before you can use anything around here. Next thing you know, they'll be asking for a credit card number just to use the goddamn hairdryer. Attempting to set the mood, Dax tries to find the pay-per-view porn channel with some steamy 2-on-1 action. Or maybe some light android bondage. The easy stuff. Nothing too risque. Harley appears like a classy girl, after all. But as he switches through the channels, Dax stumbles upon a goddamn news channel, of all things. And that's when he sees the riots, breaking out across multiple cities across the U.S. On the screen, armored police vehicles and officers in riot gear flood the streets. From the bathroom, Harley shouts,
What's that?
The tile makes her voice echo. Nothing. Some kind of riot. Dax reads the scrolling captions at the bottom of the screen. He has to admit some level of thrill at the street-level anarchy. It conceded it needs a tad bit more control, but it could lead to a real change in power. Maybe for the right man like him. It could create a king. As a masked rioter hurtles a Molotov cocktail at a police line in riot gear, the reporter says, They're calling it the Vigilante Wars. People are sick of the crime on the street. Seems to have religious overtones and started in Atlanta, Georgia, in the USA. Dax wonders if Harley is the type of girl to throw a Molotov. If she isn't, he could live with it. But he always wanted a dame who would be by his side if things went to shit. Probably too classy. Dax hears the shower turn off, and then it sounds like Harley is on the toilet. In a minute, he hears the last drops of Harley's urine tinkling into the bowl, then the toilet flushing. She comes into the room seemingly more interested in watching the violence on television than hiking her skirt up. He feels disappointment rush through him. Babe, you shouldn't watch. He points to the TV. It's like all lies, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, you know what they say. Never know what to believe when you're watching this box. So much propaganda. I'd rather be uninformed than misinformed.
Society that's lost control over the truth quickly stops being a society.
I guess that is right. But let's move on to more important things. Don't want to kill the mood now, do we?
Sure don't.
She rips off her shirt. Dax's heart goes pitter-patter as Harley scoots into the bed. Her warm body presses tightly next to his. The blue electric lamp beside the bed crackles. She throws a coin into the side slot, and the bed vibrates into a relaxing massage. Why you still wearing makeup?
Not ready for you to see me without it, love.
I don't care much about that.
It covers my ugly until I am sure you can accept it. Skin's got some rough patches.
Dax sighs and switches the subject. The way I see it, me and you are rich, baby girl. We got a backpack full of cash and nothing but the horizon on our way. Now, this ain't nothing but a little bit of seed money.
What do you need that for?
Dax points at the television. There, we're going to the U.S. of A, baby. He shakes his fist excitedly. A glare of confusion crosses Harley's face. Dax feels a sense of guilt cross over himself. Here he is talking a big game, and deep inside, he cannot hide the fact that if the people who he ripped off find him, the two of them are dead. Sure, he might be able to get a few coming through the door, especially if the motion detectors got them, but the best bet for this trip is that Interpol or local police find him first.
Why would you want to go there?
Are you kidding me? That's primo catastrophe. Everybody needs water during martial law, don't they? They need bullets. The way I see it, we get to the good old land of the free, buy ourselves a neat little cache of ammunition, and then sell it to the highest bidder.
Baby, we're arms dealers, are we?
Could be. I got some contacts in cash.
Contacts?
Guy Winston Jones. I'm sure he could back me. We knew each other decades ago when he served in the military. Now, he just sits at home and has his company trying to build some sort of spaceship. He's got his eyes on Mars.
While I appreciate any insights into your world, not sure that is much of a life. Sure, the money's great, but a lot of those guys never have time to spend it. They're too busy hiding in a hut somewhere until their luck runs out.
A knowing look forms in Dax's eyes. Baby, we're going to Vegas.
Sure looks horrible there.
That's Atlanta. Vegas is over 1,000 miles away.
Whole country might be horrible. When the people are horrible, it has a tendency to travel across a land.
She glances at the screen, where a protester lifts another off the ground. As the police advanced, Dax reaches over and runs a fingertip over her arm. She purrs. That's the thing about people. They can be both horrible and wonderful, sometimes at the same time. Dax cracks open a bottle of vodka. He must like Harley. Usually he doesn't touch the stuff. He is a whiskey man, through to his soul. Dax thinks, this girl, she's my lottery ticket out of this hellhole. Scene 3. 4 mornings later, with bloodshot eyes, Dax tosses the empty box of condoms into the trash, takes a dihydroepiandrosterone DHEA pill to keep his blood levels of testosterone up, and 2 potassium glutamate supplements, about 4% of his daily need to keep his blood pressure low. His bones ache, and he feels spent. Exiting the room, he yanks off the motion detector, both pleased and surprised it never went off. Indeed, he is mystified that while a ton of fireworks launched in the room, none came from outside. Harley must be a luck charm for him. He stumbles out of the elevator, towing his equally hungover girlfriend behind him. He draws his arm to cover his face as the harsh daylight of the lobby burns his eyes. When he drops the key card of room 9200 at the concierge's desk, he doesn't bother looking up. That'll be an additional $3,200 of in-room entertainment, including the exotic dancers, amphetamines, and lubricants delivered to your room. I must say, bravo on the unique use of holographic midgets. Searching the data records, I don't think the hotel has ever had that happen before. Dax is unsure of whether to feel ashamed or proud for earning the distinction. But before he can speak, the android continues. Oh, and of course, the mini bar, which you emptied, I might add. Kudos to you, sir, for your, may I say, enduringly strong liver. Dax thinks, hell with the money I've got. I can just have them 3D print me a new built stem cell liver, if I need one. As Dax swipes his John Hancock across the page, he mutters over his shoulder to Harley, who is throwing up her guts into the flower pot near the elevators. That's how they get you. Lure you in with a cheap rate, and then gouge you on the extras. I'm sorry for your dissatisfaction. If you upgrade to a Rancor Suites Platinum membership, I can gladly give you additional comped rooms. Dax glares at the complaint card. Maybe it is because this has been such a lucky trip for him. He fully headed to the hotel with some expectation of it being his last days on Earth. And yet, here he was, still alive, and with Harley. Wow. For once, his desire to get this glorified cashier overpowers his desire to exit the hotel. He finds the nearest bush to hurl up his free continental breakfast. A complaint card? His lungs expand. Do you know who I am? As soon as Dax steps out of the hotel doors, with the smog in his face and his girl on his arm, a weird sensation overcomes him. His mind jostles with the feelings, and then he realizes it for anxiety. Is he being watched? A taxicab cruises by on the road. Its mini billboard sitting atop the roof flashes a one-time sale for Staymax, erectile dysfunction medication. The spokesperson, with slick-backed hair, calls out to Dax. Dax, based on your medical history, you've visited the doctor for erectile dysfunction medication 3 times this year. Are you happy with your current medical provider? Face flushing with embarrassment, Dax feels himself shrink. The guy is completely wrong. He has performed admirably over the last few days. Maybe a little tired and in need of help at the end, but he made love at least 12 to 13 times a day. Damn it, he thinks. How the hell does this dumb cab know my personal business? Dax's eyes dart to Harley, who overheard every word. She rubs his back reassuringly.
It happens to everyone, baby cakes. I got no complaints.
Dax shrugs it off. He caresses Harley's face, remembering the last few days with a lingering sense of joy. Right. They must have gotten me confused with someone else. They stroll the sidewalk, passing street vendors, hawking all kinds of illicit goods. They all seem to know Dax on a first-name basis. Dax! New rounds for your 45? Dax glares at him crooked. He wonders in his head. How's he know I'm packing? Maybe saw the holster under my leather coat. A drone flies up and scans Dax. It plays an ad for his brand of whiskey. The hologram gets it right, but Dax feels a small sense of illness when the man in the hologram downs a shot. Maybe he really overdid the last few days. Shit. I hope it's not alcohol poisoning. Might be good to get some oxygen therapy, just in case. Dax spins. Billboards, posters, and anything with a digital display swivel in his direction, following him with their glowing digital faces. They taunt him. Their faces beam embarrassing ads which follow him wherever he goes. What the hell?
Honey, your hands are sweaty, a bit sticky. Did you wash them?
Harley lets go of his hands. They are sweaty, and it adds to his frustration. He sighs and recommits to having as good of a day as he can. Just the heat. Unbearable out here today. Dax thinks the whole damn thing is a setup, like being on one of those gag comedy shows he's seen on TV. With quick glances, Dax searches for the cameras, but nothing appears. Kind sir, new wallet for your altar coins? 5,325 altar coins to be exact. Do you have a hard wallet for those? Flustered, Dax stops in his tracks and grabs the man by the collar. "That's my damn money. I earned it. Fair and square, you hear me? I have a right to my personal privacy. Where the hell do you get off revealing my personal information?" As soon as Dax says personal information, he knows exactly where the street vendor got his data. That goddamn hotel. They did this. "Please, sir, I can't help you there."
Baby, please, let him go. You can get time for assault plus, the other thing. We gotta get out of here before the cops arrive.
Realizing Harley is referring to the heist, he lets go of the man's collar. He feels proud that Harley has his back. Still, he needs to get some space to work this out. Scene 4. After making an excuse to leave Harley, Dax marches through the hotel lobby once again. He realizes he despises the place. All of it, from the stone fountain to the marble floors. Hell, even the artistic leather sofa feels cheap and out of place. The concierge is busy with a couple of college kids on break. Dax doesn't care. He storms right up to the counter and points a finger toward the bulletproof glass. "What the hell did you do?" As the college kids scurry away, the concierge adopts a concerned frown. "I'm sorry, sir?" "With my data. Why does every advertiser know how many times I wipe my goddamn ass?" "Sir, hardly your bowel movements aren't considered valuable data to advertisers, but it wouldn't be unheard of for a toilet paper company to—" "You know what I mean. You sold them my privacy." "Technically, sir, you did. You sold it to us. In order to receive a discount rate on this hotel, you bargained away your data, sir. In turn, we sold it to third-party advertisers, which is probably why you're seeing custom-tailored ads." Dax feels his face flush, and his heart pounds in his throat. Most consumers find the trade-off in personal privacy worth it for such accuracy. For example, if you have a particularly hard stool, you might desire less scratchy. Dax smacks the counter out of frustration, causing the concierge to cease his dribble. He isn't supposed to be losing his cool like this. Not after his 16-week anger management classes taught him that having anger is fine, just a byproduct of hurt feelings. It might be more emotional pain than anger. He feels betrayed that this company has sold his data to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. He has a right to his feelings, but it is how the anger is displayed which is wrong. Dax has worked hard to learn to assertively express his rage. Besides, Dax would never admit that this droid and bargain bin hotel has hurt his feelings. They are his buttons, and he's learned to put the shields down over them, especially when it comes to machines. On the other hand, when did he become so damn soppy, he wonders. Too much mental health television and therapists when he was in the joint. He grits his teeth. God damn, you piece of metal. If I could reach through this glass, I'd be using you as my goddamn toaster by the morning. Harley's voice emerges in his head.
Let it go, baby. Let's move to the next score and leave this joint behind.
Taking a step back, Dax draws a deep breath. It seems as if an eternity passes, but he realizes, in reality, it's just a few nanoseconds. He has to think. but his mind spins. With the hangover and belly turning up something nauseous, he barely forms a coherent thought. Come on, you old shit for brains, think. Focus on harm reduction. Save what you can. Finally, an idea mercifully comes to him. Proof that maybe his brain and liver can survive a few more years of drinking. Now, I need you to listen very carefully. In that particular set of data were the bank deposits I made into my account. Yes, I'm talking about the exact number, down to the decimal, down to the octadecimal, sir. And that's available to whom? Whoever is willing to pay the price. At that point, Dax's rage boils over. He sent that money through 5 different accounts, with holding companies that vanished within seconds after the money left them to block a trace. Now, all could see the money in his account. Hell, with the path, the final landing is clear. When no one came for him over the last few days, Dax convinced himself he was free. But now the spotlight was back on him. He goes for his pistol, but before he can even fully extend his arm, the gun turrets mounted to the hotel's ceiling and desk emerge and circle their barrels, pointing at the center of his chest. Red laser lights land on his chest, not because the computer needs them to fire, but to send him a clear message. Excuse me, sir, but that particular course of action is not advisable. Might I suggest the complaint card? Dax assesses the barrels, and then begrudgingly tucks his weapon back behind his waistband. Dax thinks. Mitigate the disaster. He sucks in a huge breath. Okay, that came out wrong. I'm sorry. Let me try again. I'll take that complaint card. The concierge slides a small paper slip through the window. Dax grabs it, ready to give Rancor Hotels and Suites a piece of his mind. Then realizes he doesn't have a pencil. He taps his breast pocket. You got a pen? The concierge slides a pen into the catch tray, happy to appease the man. Glad to be of service, sir. Egregious violation of consumer rights. Dax scrawls out the invective onto the card. He can't believe what is happening. He'd had a clean getaway. The bag of altar coins was the seed money to kickstart his new life with Harley. He was scot-free, and now he might as well have had a neon sign pointed directly at his back. Anywhere he goes, he'll be exposed, and not just him, Harley too. You got to lay low, Dax thinks to himself. His mind searches his friend list to see who might be able to get him an identity change, and to secretly get him out of this country. A fear creeps up as he thinks how much it's going to cost him, especially for 2 people. Dax shoves the complaint card to the concierge. He calls Harley. She sounds surprised to hear from him and agrees to join him at the bar. After hanging up, he knows he has only one move to protect himself and her. He dials his old army friend, Winston Jones. Mr. Jones, it's good to talk to you. Yeah, I screwed up bad. Listen, I could really use some help. Well, I need a black hole to dump some money. I know it won't be easy, but you're the only person I can think of who could pull it off. Yes, let me see. If you get me out of this, brother, you'll own me. I swear. Scene 5. 10 minutes later, Harley waits patiently for answers at a metallic bar up the street. The place is called the Lunar Eclipse Lounge. It is cutting edge of sophisticated, opulent aesthetics. The floor plan is spacious and minimalist in furniture. The room temp is kept at 68 degrees, and the humidity is held at 42%. The onyx color walls match the frames of the metallic bar stools with plush, soft black seats. The place smells of fresh drinks, and the air is much cooler than the 90 degrees and above outside weather. Passing the pulsating neon LED archway, he feels the transformation into this high-tech robotic managed lounge. He makes his way to her, and she sits at a black marble table on the left of the bar. A series of black synthetic leather sofas make a sitting area for people to speak. A small fire pit lies between them, which gives off a gas fire behind a tempered, mystic blue glass wall. The glass accentuates the fire's hypnotic effect. All the chairs are adjusted to allow for maximum comfort. They are even designed to draw heat from the body to keep a person cool. Above the sofa, an array of concealed LED lights emit a subtle, ever-changing spectrum of mood-inducing colors, casting an ethereal glow over the space. The ceiling is adorned with an undulating installation of delicate, interactive LED panels, which create an ambient light show in response to the music's rhythm. The place is known for its light blues and jazz sound. In the background, Cab Calloway's Minnie the Moocher plays on the state-of-the-art sound system. Dax struts towards Sinclair to the music. When he reaches her, he gives her a soft peck on the lips, and then it turns into a full kiss as their tongues intertwine. He drags her in close. When they come up for air, she says,
"Hey, baby."
Even in this tense situation, Harley is an angel. He counts himself lucky to have found her on the escort site. He'd been searching and ordered the pure love girlfriend experience. A couple of hours later, she met him as agreed at the ATM. She'd be his as long as the money kept flowing. But wasn't that just the nature of all relationships?
What's going on?
She lifts a small highball glass with a scotch and soda to her lips and takes a swig. Dax realizes he has to tell her the horrible news. She has a right to know. Her whole life is about to change. Dax feels horrible. I'll have one of those. Raising a finger, Dax calls to the robotic barmaid. Harley points to a small self-ordered display on the table, but Dax shakes off the notion of having to punch the order in himself. He gazes to the bar. An expert non-humanoid robotic bartender prepares a diverse range of avant-garde cocktails with precision, while holographic projections of human bartenders from bygone decades, starting in the 1890s, dance over the machine. The design is to pay homage to bartending traditions. He'd seen places like this before and knew the bartenders were programmed to be a soft ear for customers to speak. The fact, even now, played out as several lonely older women spoke to one of the 8-style bartenders with a long mullet. The place has an enormous assortment of wines, beers, and drinks, but it is most famous for individualizing to a patron's tastes its requests. There is a personalized drink function on the scanner, with a simple swab or reading your saliva from a drink. The futuristic cocktail menu features molecular gastronomy, inspired libations, and innovative color-changing concoctions, all designed to stimulate the genetic codes of a person's senses. The problem is that there was no way in hell Dax would give up his saliva, not after the horrible experience he just had with the hotel selling his data. Put the lady's stuff on my bill. The sexy but classy design robotic barmaid nods and swirls away.
Thank you.
Harley has had a tough life, and he so desperately wants to give her better. She came from an abusive family, and when her father died, well, her stepdad became sexually abusive to her. He worries this betrayal of her might be worse. Damn, he wanted so much to be her sugar daddy, to take care of all of her needs and desires. The barbot gives a cryptic smile and then darts off. Dax swirls to Harley. He brushes a lock of Harley's hair out of her face. A girl he has come to know as very bright, she deserves so much more than an escort's life. Hell, in down times, he figures she probably lives on universal basic income, waiting for the next knight in shining armor to come along. Her full red lips are enchanting. He needs some comfort, so he brushes his lips on hers. She moans sweetly, and he draws back. The Smiths, half a person, starts in the background. Well, you see, sweet cakes, you remember the money. I told you I'd obtained it completely legally. She nods, and her baby blues are stunning under the long lashes. He softly sighs as the last bit of frustration escapes him. Well, turns out it may not have been obtained in the most legal of practices, and, well, I also deposited those funds into my account, the exact amount that I stole. So, you see, if a smart man did some looking at my bank statements and compared it to the amount knocked off at that ATM, well, then that'd raise what we call a red flag. I might need to. Before Dax can even think, the bar glass shatters as a hail of bullets cut into the area. Patrons scurry for safety. Flower vases shatter. The walls are chopped up. The black leather sofas at the lounge are demolished. People go fleeing everywhere. Everything is being eaten alive by the deafening rounds of gunfire erupting. When the dust settles, Mr. Quincy strolls through the shattered glass door. The eponymous owner of Quincy ATMs. And Dax felt sure he wanted to inquire about that money. Mr. Quincy had fashioned himself something of a gangster, so when it came to matters of disputes, he liked to handle things himself. That is, flanked by a number of thugs he kept on the payroll. Dax freezes. His twitching hand rests a few inches from his gun. Mr. Quincy dusts a few pieces of wall crumbs off his black pinstripe suit and readjusts his fedora. Dax. Now here I thought I had a trustworthy employee. Come to find out, the same person I'm employing is turning around and stealing from me. What's that phrase, gang? Don't bite the dog? No, that's not it. Don't bite the owner if you're the dog? One of the big man's goons interjects. Don't shit where you eat. Quincy shoots him a harsh glare. The goon gazes out sheepishly and takes a step back. He turns back to Dax and tilts his head to the side. Thank you, but hell, that ain't it either. You know what I mean? Dax doesn't give a damn about the fat man and his squad bolts through the door. And, in spite of being in a world of pain, he only thinks about Harley. The poor girl lay on the floor, her white shirt soaked in red, coughing up her own blood. Her wide eyes plead to Dax for help. Dax can barely lift his head to assess the damage to his body. He bleeds from everywhere. His guts feel like they were hanging out. Those damn AI docs are good at stitching people up, but this would have to be a miracle. He fantasizes about a miracle in which the cavalry comes in to save him, but such hopes has been punished out of him by a lifetime of hardship. Dax, here's the thing. People like you are always seeking the easy way out. You want handouts, and when you don't get it, you try and take it from good, hard-working people like myself. Now, I crawled up from the bottom with my own bare hands. Do you think a little twat like you could take that from me? Dax sighs. His mind swirls. In the distance, he hears the faint sounds of helicopters. His hands shake. Fear courses through his veins. Probably shock setting in from blood loss. He glances over to see Harley has passed out, or maybe worse, she was already dead. He thinks, go peaceful, baby. I'll be joining you soon. He wants to reach her, to provide physical comfort as she passes, but he knows this will give Quincy's team an open shot. Now, Dax, how long have you been working for me? 2 years? That's one hell of an internship working with a bona fide businessman. Now, you could have taken all the knowledge I dispensed over the years and used it to start something for yourself. But were you even listening? No. You always thought you had all the answers, and you could have taken that paycheck and put a little away every month. But what did you do every weekend? You did nothing but piss that money away at the bar. Oh, that and cheap hookers. Speaking of hookers, who's the fine young lady you're with?
Don't touch her!
Holy cow! Under all that blood, dame's a looker. Say, how'd you even get the attention of a girl like this? Sure ain't with your looks, pal. She's way out of your league. But now, something tells me she ain't gonna attract much of anybody anymore. Not with all the bullet holes in her body. And one more thing. Before I end this, Mr. Quincy kneels down and picks up Dax's leather cowboy hat. He dusts it off. Quincy does not have a clear shot at Dax, but if he moves in 5 more steps, he will. Dax imagines having a bomb to go off if he gets close. The fantasy is titillating. Shame he does not have one. One of the goons walks over to Quincy and whispers in his ear. The man's face sours, and Dax senses the man received bad news. He turns back to Dax. Don't even think about getting even. You see, as long as I've got your data, I know where you are at all times. I know what you buy. I know what you're searching for. I can see every single move you make. I got you under my thumb. Mr. Quincy stands and looks up at the ceiling. Dax thinks. This is it. He'll step closer and fire. Beautiful moonlights. So peaceful. It is like they suck you in. The sting of blood hurt his eye. With his one good eye, Dax sees Mr. Quincy. He does not step closer. Indeed, he aims his gun and fires at the ceiling, which begins to fall. No! The last thing Dax sees is a face full of glass, and he hears, Sir, we need to get out of here. The mercenaries are getting close. Everything goes black. Scene 6. Dax's eyes flutter open briefly on the helicopter. He sees several soldiers with assault rifles. One leans into him. Where's Harley? She's next to you. Dax notices an intravenous line in his arm. On the other side lay Harley. Several machines work to pump blood into her veins, and a portable iron lung keeps her breathing. Damn, I'm responsible for this. He reaches over to touch her. Her skin is cold, but soft. Who are you? You're out. Old man Winston sent us. Dax thinks. So, the retrieval squad made it. Good. He turns to the soldiers. Several are vaping out of the side of the helicopter. Below, he sees the bright neon lights of the city clicking on as night falls. Thank you. Scene 7. 6 weeks and multiple surgeries later, Dax sits outside a building on the northeast side of Singapore, a city called Yushun. A couple of decades before, it barely qualified as a city, with a population of only 260,000. But after several disasters in the region, its population grew to close to 2 million. Winston Jones told him Quincy would be in Singapore this weekend. He needs to get this right for Harley. She was still in the hospital and undergoing major transplants and skeletal surgeries. Well, at least Winston was good enough to pay for the surgeries before passing their souls. Dax bit the inside of his lips. At first, Harley was horrified and refused the help. She even refused to see him. But when the kind old man Winston brought out her contract from Hewitt Entertainment Company, a subsidiary of Yak Corporation, and her pimp, she agreed. Why not? She was free from one slaveholder and now beholden to what seemed like a kinder one. Life was cruel that way, but sometimes a trade-up was a good thing. Her words frightened Dax.
It's okay. It just means stripping away one identity for another. It never touches my soul, the core me.
The words were intended to hurt Dax, and they did. He worries that their relationship is nothing more than a job to her. Dax just hopes that she enjoys the weapons trade. After Winston came to the hospital, he told Dax he had a lot more interest than just flying spaceships. Indeed, his grand interest was seeing his son become a senator. His son, being a proper man of the people, gave Winston a sense of pride in Dax's tale of how some control and quelling of the Atlanta street violence could help get the boy there. Winston agreed to the arrangement. Patiently, Dax waits. I Hope You're Happy Now by Elvis Costello rocks out his car speakers. He has taken out one of Quincy's bodyguards. With his new exoskeleton, it proves to be a quick and easy task. Quincy has no idea the guy is gone. Instead, he calls the bodyguard's phone. After taking out the guard, Dax secures the phone from the man and hooks it to the small black box, which reads Locations. Briefly, his mind remembers showing Harley the box in the hotel. Dax does not pick up. 4 rings later, he has the address of his target. It is about 25 minutes away. He sends off his car drone. In his rental car, blowing all the lights, blasting the Misfits' Die, Die, My Darling. He makes it in 10. Quincy sits in a small restaurant, surrounded by his bodyguards. From the car, Dax determines the glass is bomb-resistant. Dax reaches into the back of his car. He extracts a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. By itself, it could not hope to get through the glass to kill the target. Briefly, he worries the operation is going to fail, and he will lose his one chance at justice for Harley. He has only one chance, and he swears to himself. If it fails, he is going to go down swinging. The white drone scans the glass's resonance frequency. It adjusts its sound blast to the glass and zooms in. The buzzes and sails. The sound attack screeches like an opera singer in their prime. As it does so, Dax draws the detonator. The sound blast cracks the glass, and as the drone hits the glass, before it can bounce off, Dax detonates the drone. It explodes and shatters the glass, collapsing it. In one motion, Dax yells,
For Harley! Die, you bastard!
Dax launches the grenade into the shattered window and it explodes. Several men jump out of the buildings on either side of the one he hit with the semi-automatic weapons and fire. The bullets strike the bulletproof glass on his car, but it holds. With a swift shift of his hand, Dax throws the gear shift into drive and darts off. Automatic fire follows him out, clunking off his car and denting it. He realizes the first step is done. He has several more missions for Winston to do, and a few on his own. But his new life has begun. I hope Harley can feel safe now that the people who tried to kill us are dead. Scene 8. To Truth Is by city lights blasting in his earbuds. Dax hobbles into the Rancor Ambassador Hotel, retrofitted with his new military-grade exoskeleton. Funny enough, he can't afford the sleek newer models that are all the rage, but Dax didn't mind. His new benefactor granted him this moment of justice, he thinks. Hell, new models make wares appear like capeless superheroes anyway. No, this older model is best. It is a war surplus military-grade exoskeleton designed for combat and hauling rucksacks across mountain ranges. It is big and bulky, but, as doctors reminded him, it is the only thing preventing his spine from snapping in half like a pair of disposable chopsticks. Maybe, if he proves himself, Winston will splurge for an upgrade. If not as benefactor, then he needs to check the balance of his stolen money to see if he can transfer some of it from inventory purchasing to the upgrade. For now, though, this suit is more than enough. Dax steps into that faux luxury lobby, and flashes of that day come rushing back to him. The day they made everything he did in life public. But it was not a completely bad day. That was the time he met Harley. He scans the lobby. The chandelier. Everything is in its place, as if nothing has changed. Well, his life has changed. Every one of his secrets, from what illnesses he was treated for to what places he vacationed to the foods he ate, were now all public knowledge. The resulting incident practically transformed him into a robot, and he hated those things. He wonders if Mr. Jones can help him erase some of the stuff, but realizes it is probably way too late for that to be done. As the guests in front of him clear, the android concierge busily taps away at the computer, not even noticing Dax's presence, until the hydraulic pistons of his exosuit hiss, as his feet come to a stop at the front of the desk. The AI is busy playing the black grand piano. This time, Handel's Messiah. Dax has spent a long time recovering in that hospital bed. Too much time to think about his revenge. So, Dax relishes the look on the concierge's face when he gets up to the front desk. The android takes one look at Dax's cybernetic enhancements and knows the integrity of the bulletproof glass is under question. Mr. Dax Rainer, I said you would return one day, and here you are. Wonderful to see you make another stop with us. I do hope you reconsidered our honors member package. It is a wonderful deal. How may I help you, sir? Dax only smiles, and then, with his cybernetically enhanced arm, punches a hole through the ballistic glass like it is drywall and grabs a hold of the concierge's perfectly folded Windsor knot.
How do I get it back?
Get what back? Dax ripped the android clean through the glass and onto the lobby floor. Glass shatters everywhere as Dax puts a foot on the top of the android's chest. My data. How do I get it back? Well, sir, I see you still have not processed this obsession. Please, sir, the matter would have to be settled directly with headquarters. You should know the hotel. The guns from the hotel rotate toward Dax. And where exactly is the headquarters? The concierge yanks a business card from his breast pocket. Dax snatches it and then hands it to his girlfriend, who strolls up behind him.
Honey, it seems you are making some progress.
Despite the doctor's best attempts, they couldn't save her leg, which had been chewed in half by machine gun fire. She lost her arm to an infection. Unlike the old busted-up rig he wore, Dax sprang for the best synthetic limbs money could buy. Now it appears like the skin of the prosthesis, like metallic snake flesh. Dax doesn't care if his rig shorts out from time to time. As long as his girl is amble, Dax is happy. In giving her the best, he hopes to, in some small way, make up for all the grief his delusions caused her. He grabs a mint from the jar and offers one to his babe. She takes it, unwraps it, and sticks it into her mouth. A cautious grin etches over the edges of her lips as she draws a Molotov cocktail from under her coat. Lighting it, she chucks it into the concierge's desk. For him, she is perfect. Everything his heart desired.
Does this mean we're going on a road trip?
The flame explodes and roasts the robot. Planning for the wheel of death, when the gun wheel pivots and begins to fire, Dax's new targeting system cuts it down in seconds. Thanks for the backup jamming the wheel.
Of course, dear.
Glowing with pride, Dax nods. Yes, Miss Rainer, it does. Sweetheart, pack your bags. We're going to Atlanta. Thank you for listening to The Atlanta Vigilante Wars, Case 002, Permission to Collect. Script by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. Based on a short story novella by Joseph Cautilli, Marisha Cautilli, and Peter Kim. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shanalee Carton.